5:16 this morning, looking, of course, at Milton. It looks a little different, a little structurally different this morning, and that's because it's undergoing an eye wall replacement cycle. That pinhole eye is gone now, and the eye wall collapsed upon itself. This is a very common thing with major hurricanes, and a new eye wall replaces it. Now, the downside, well, the plus side is it typically knocks it down a category. So it's a Category 4 storm with 155-mile-per-hour winds, which is still incredibly strong, but remember from where it was. But the other thing an eye wall replacement cycle does, the downside, is it expands the wind field out. So now the wind fields, the hurricane force winds and the tropical storm force winds are going to go out further than they did before. So again, you're just taking that energy and spreading it out. We may get another one before landfall, which again is not going to be till late Wednesday night, or maybe even early Thursday morning, like, 1 or 2 o'clock or midnight, somewhere in that frame. I know the worst of the storm is going to come through at dark, unfortunately. But here's the way it looks. It's still kind of running. This is the Yucatan Peninsula. I would expect as it starts to move away from the Yucatan later today, this may start to regather some of its strength a little bit. So it could go back up to Category 5. In fact, that is the forecast. But then as it starts to approach the west coast of Florida, that's when it's going to start that weakening process, especially due to the fact that we're going to have this. And this is just intense wind shear sitting along the northern Gulf Coast. This is, honestly, this is acting like a big block, which is why we know no Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, or Alabama. The storm's not going anywhere near those spots. It's being forced and it's being funneled to come right across the west coast of Florida. So if you look at the computer models, as they get closer and closer to the event, they're going to agree more. Wouldn't you say? I mean, now you're talking about a range. Remember yesterday morning, it was like Levy County to Fort Myers. Now you're looking at a range just based on the computer models of Citrus County to Sarasota County, right? So it's kind of locking in the track forecast. So I know what you're thinking. We're going to wake up and it's going to be going somewhere else. Yeah, I think that time has passed, folks. The question is, where does it make landfall? Because that is pivotal to the forecast for the storm surge. I think everybody along the coast from Sarasota going all the way up into at least maybe Hernando County, looking at hurricane force winds, even inland locations as well. But nailing down exactly where it makes landfall is huge for the storm surge forecast. I'm going to explain that in a second. Here's the latest track from the Hurricane Center. You see the center line, if you will, because that's where your eyes are drawn, right around or just to the south of Tampa Bay itself. But the cone does go from Citrus County southward to south of Sarasota, but we continue to narrow in that landfall. But notice the timing of this. This is Thursday morning at 2 a.m. So, yeah, you could potentially having this make landfall around midnight or so, or 2 a.m. Thursday morning. Somebody in this 10 to 15 foot range for storm surge, it will verify, and it depends on where the storm comes on shore. If it comes on shore, let's say Pinellas Pasco line, well then obviously Tampa Bay, you're going to get a 10 to 15 foot storm surge. If it comes on shore in Sarasota, well then that 10 to 15 foot storm surge is south from there. So that is the only question we think we just can't answer this morning, because that once it starts to move northeastward, and then later tonight and tomorrow morning, then you're going to kind of get that track and get a really good idea of where it's going to come on shore. Hurricane warnings are out, but they're out for our inland locations as well. Now, this is the Fox model. Some preliminary numbers to throw at you, averaging it out over the storm, okay? Now, I will tell you that the European model and the American model are not much different. They really aren't at this point, as everything's starting to agree. It's just what happens when you get it close to an event. This is tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Look, winds, nothing. 20, 30-mile-per-hour gusts, not a big deal. We get into the afternoon, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Now, along the coast, you're seeing wind gusts 40 to 50. So I'm thinking once we get into the afternoon hours, that's when the bridges are going to start to close, because now you're getting those wind gusts to 50, even though I know sustained is about 40. Inland, still nothing. Now, Wednesday, 4 o'clock, okay, getting some stronger winds sustained at the coast, still 40 to 50. Not a big deal. Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, now we're getting the core of the storm to start to make its way in. And Pinellas County, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. And that time, Polk County, Highlands County, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds with some higher gusts as well. Then, as you're getting into 11 o'clock Wednesday night, here comes your core of the storm. 100 mile per hour wind gusts from St. Petersburg, 80 to 90 in Clearwater, 100 in Clearwater. This is 12 a.m., so right around when it makes landfall, obviously the worst of it, and that's when you're going to get those hurricane-force wind gusts inland as well. So the worst of this is going to be late Wednesday night and early on Thursday morning. And don't forget to throw all of that. I mean, we're talking wind, we're talking storm surge. We're going to get a lot of rain from this. And if this verifies this little strip of some very heavy rain, even over toward Orlando as well, somebody's getting over 10 inches of rain to go along with those wind gusts and the storm surge. A lot to get through, but it looks like the timetable for it now, the worst of the weather is going to be tomorrow night now. I mean, tomorrow after the sun goes down is when the worst of the weather rolls in. We don't like that. It's just the way it's going to play out. Mostly cloudy. We got 82 today. There'll be some showers around this afternoon. And then, of course, weather starts to go downhill tomorrow. It will be downhill a bit for Thursday morning, and then it will rapidly improve. And the weekend at this point looks drier, nice, temperatures in the 80s. So I'm trying to think about the weekend now.